I still remember the smell of antiseptic in the hallway. It was sharp, clean, almost comforting. The kind of smell that tells you everything is under control. I was 28 weeks pregnant when I walked into Mercy Valley Medical Center that morning. My hands rested gently on my belly, as if I could protect the life inside me just by touch. This was supposed to be a routine ultrasound. Nothing more. No drama. No fear. Just another blurry black and white image, another heartbeat, another reassurance that my baby was growing strong. I had no idea that within the next 30 minutes, my marriage, my identity, and my entire understanding of truth would collapse. My name is Emily Carter. I was married to Daniel Carter, a respected real estate consultant, charming, well-spoken, and admired by everyone who met him. We lived in a quiet suburban neighborhood outside Chicago. White fences, tree-lined streets, friendly neighbors. The kind of place where people waved in the mornings and baked cookies during the holidays. Daniel and I had been married for 6 years. No screaming fights. No visibles scars. No broken dishes. Just a calm, predictable life. And yet, something always felt slightly off. Daniel never came to doctor appointments with me. He said work was stressful. Deadlines. Clients. Deals falling apart. I believed him. When I told him the ultrasound was today, he nodded distractedly and said, "Send me a picture, I'll frame it." I smiled. But deep inside, a quiet voice whispered, "Why doesn't he ever want to hear the heartbeat?" I ignored that voice. Pregnancy had taught me to ignore many things: nausea, exhaustion, back pain, and intuition. The technician, a woman named Karen, greeted me warmly. "Excited to see your little one?" she asked. I nodded, lying back on the bed as she applied the cool gel to my stomach. The room lights dimmed. The screen flickered to life. There it was. My baby. Moving. Stretching. Alive. Tears welled in my eyes. For a few moments, everything felt perfect. Then Karen went quiet. Too quiet. Her smile faded slightly, replaced by a professional, unreadable expression. She clicked the mouse again. And again. Zoomed in. Measured. Zoomed out. I laughed nervously. "Is everything okay?" She hesitated. "I'm just going to get the doctor to take a look," she said carefully. My heart skipped. "That's normal, right?" She forced a polite smile. "Yes. Just routine." But her eyes didn't agree. Dr. Michael Harris entered the room a few minutes later. Mid-40s. Calm voice. Kind eyes. He nodded to Karen, then looked at the screen. For a long time he didn't speak. The silence pressed against my chest. "Doctor," I whispered. He finally turned toward me. "Emily, how long have you been married?" The question stunned me. 6 years. "Why?" He glanced back at the ultrasound image, then back at me. "Does your husband attend your appointments?" "No," I said slowly. "He's busy with work." Dr. Harris swallowed. His jaw tightened. "Emily," he said quietly, "I need to talk to you privately." Karen left the room. The door closed. And suddenly the air felt heavier. Dr. Harris pulled up a chair beside me. What he said next didn't sound real. "If I'm wrong," he said carefully, "I'll apologize for the rest of my career. But if I'm right, you need to protect yourself." My heart pounded so loudly I could barely hear him. "Doctor, please," I said. "You're scaring me." He took a deep breath. "Emily, based on this ultrasound." He paused. "I believe you should strongly consider divorcing your husband." The world stopped. "What?" I laughed weakly. "That doesn't make any sense." He didn't smile. "This isn't about your marriage," he said. "It's about the truth and your safety." My hands began to shake. "What truth?" Dr. Harris leaned closer. "The baby you're carrying," he lowered his voice, "is showing genetic markers that raise serious questions about paternity." I felt the blood drain from my face. "That's impossible," I said. "I've never." "I'm not accusing you," he interrupted gently. "But biology doesn't lie." My ears rang. "And that's not even the part that concerns me most." I stared at him. "There's something else," he continued. "Something about this pregnancy that connects directly to your husband." My stomach twisted. "What are you saying?" Dr. Harris hesitated. then said the words that shattered everything I thought I knew. Emily, your husband may not be who you think he is. I expected clinical advice. Instead, I saw fear in his eyes. Please, he said quietly. If you trust me at all, do not confront him yet. My throat tightened. Why? Because, he said, standing up slowly, if what I suspect is true, divorcing him might be the only way to save your life. I stared at the ultrasound screen, at my baby, at the heartbeat still pulsing. And suddenly, my perfect life felt like a carefully staged lie. The doctor's words stayed with me long after I left the hospital. I sat in my car for almost an hour, my hands resting on the steering wheel, staring at nothing. People came and went around me, living normal lives, while mine felt like it had split into two versions. One where everything was still normal, and another where something dark had already begun. I kept replaying his voice in my head. Do not confront him yet. Divorcing him might be the only way to save your life. I wanted to believe he was wrong. Doctors made mistakes. Machines misread things. Maybe the ultrasound was unclear. Maybe the markers meant nothing. But deep down I felt something else. Relief. And that scared me more than fear. Because relief meant some part of me had always known that my marriage wasn't what it looked like. I drove home slowly. Every red light felt longer than usual. My phone buzzed twice. Messages from Daniel. Everything okay? Send me the ultrasound pic when you can. I didn't reply. When I walked into the house, the silence greeted me like it always did. The living room was spotless. The furniture was perfectly placed, untouched, like a model home no one actually lived in. I sat on the couch and stared at the wedding photo on the wall. Daniel's arm was around me. His smile was confident, calm, controlled. I used to think that meant safety. Now it looked rehearsed. That evening, Daniel came home later than usual. He kissed my forehead, asked about my day, loosened his tie like nothing in the world was wrong. How was the appointment? He asked casually. Fine, I said. One word. Neutral. Safe. He nodded, relieved by the lack of detail. He didn't ask more. He never did. We ate dinner in front of the TV. A news anchor talked about rising crime rates and corruption scandals. Daniel scoffed and shook his head like he was above it all. I watched him carefully for the first time in years. The way he avoided my eyes. The way his phone never left his pocket. The way he flinched, just slightly, when I mentioned the doctor. That night, after he fell asleep, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. And then my phone vibrated. A private number. My heart stopped. I answered quietly. Emily, Dr. Harris said. I'm sorry to call so late, but I didn't want to wait. I sat up in bed, my voice barely a whisper. What is it? We ran a deeper analysis on the ultrasound data, he said. And I ordered an additional non-invasive prenatal test using the sample you already provided. I held my breath. The results confirmed my concern, he continued. The baby's genetic markers do not align with your husband's medical history. Tears filled my eyes. But I never cheated, I whispered. I know, he said gently. And that's exactly why this is alarming. My chest tightened. Then what does it mean? There was a pause on the line. Emily, he said slowly. There are only two explanations left. Either your husband has lied to you about who he is, or he has access to medical resources that most people don't. I felt cold all over. That doesn't make sense, I said. He works in real estate. Does he? Dr. Harris asked quietly. That question hit harder than anything else. I suddenly remembered things I had brushed off for years. The locked drawer in his office. The nights he came home smelling like antiseptic instead of cologne. The way he always knew medical terms, too well for someone outside healthcare. Doctor, I whispered. What are you saying? I'm saying, he replied, that your husband's identity may not be his real one. The line went silent for a moment. Emily, I also need you to know something else, he added. Your medical records were accessed to weeks ago. My stomach dropped. By who? Dr. Harris exhaled slowly. By someone using hospital-level credentials. Not a hack. Authorized access. I felt like I couldn't breathe. And the access originated from a private research network, he said. one I've only seen associated with classified clinical trials. The room spun. Why would Daniel be connected to that? I asked. I don't know yet, he said honestly. But I do know this. You and your baby are not safe if he realizes you know something is wrong. Tears slid down my face silently. What do I do? I asked. For now, Dr. Harris said. Act normal. Say nothing. I'm arranging a confidential consultation with a genetic specialist outside the system. And Emily, he added firmly, start preparing, mentally and legally, for a life without your husband. I ended the call and sat in the darkness. Daniel shifted in his sleep beside me. For the first time since I married him, I felt afraid of the man lying next to me. And the most terrifying part wasn't the idea that he had been lying. It was the growing fear that my pregnancy wasn't an accident, but part of something planned long before I ever saw that positive test. I didn't sleep that night. Every sound in the house felt louder than usual. The hum of the refrigerator, the faint ticking of the clock, Daniel's steady breathing beside me. I lay still, afraid that even my thoughts might somehow give me away. Morning came like nothing had changed. Daniel woke up, showered, kissed my cheek and said, I'll be late tonight. Big client. I nodded and watched him leave, the door closing softly behind him. The moment I was alone, I felt my body finally react. My hands trembled. My chest felt tight. I placed both palms on my stomach and whispered to the baby inside me, promising protection even though I had no idea how to keep that promise. Later that day, Dr. Harris sent me an encrypted message with an address and a time. No names. No explanations. Just instructions. The building was small, unmarked, and easy to miss. Inside, a woman introduced herself only as Dr. Collins. She spoke calmly, professionally, but her eyes studied me the way someone examines evidence. She reviewed the test results in silence. Then she said, Your baby carries genetic sequences that are extremely rare. I waited. These sequences, she continued, are not inherited naturally through family lines. My heart pounded. Then how are they there? They are the result of genetic modification, she said. The words didn't register at first. Modification? I repeated. Yes, she replied. Not random mutation. Intentional design. I shook my head. That's impossible. I'm not part of any experiment. She looked at me carefully. You may not be, but your husband might be. The room felt smaller. Dr. Collins explained that certain private research programs, off the books, highly classified, had been working for years on altering human DNA, not to cure disease, but to enhance specific traits, intelligence, physical resilience, longevity, and reproduction? I asked quietly. She hesitated. Reproduction has always been the end goal. I felt sick. The baby you're carrying, she said, shows markers of a second-generation subject. That phrase echoed in my head. Second generation. You're saying my child is not normal? I whispered. Dr. Collins shook her head. Your child is human. But the genetics suggest something more. Something designed to continue. I pressed my hand to my stomach, tears spilling over. How does Daniel fit into this? I asked. Dr. Collins turned her tablet toward me. On the screen was a medical file. A photograph. It wasn't my husband's face exactly, but it was close enough to make my blood run cold. Same eyes. Same jawline. Different name. Different date of birth. Daniel Carter doesn't exist, she said calmly. At least, not the way you know him. My mind raced. All these years, I whispered. Was I just chosen? Dr. Collins didn't answer right away. Based on your medical history, blood type, and genetic compatibility, she said carefully, you were a perfect match. The truth hit me like a wave. My marriage. My pregnancy. My life. None of it was random. I stood up abruptly, my legs weak. He used me. Yes, she said softly. But what matters now is what you do next. What happens if he finds out I know? I asked. Dr. Collins' expression hardened. Subjects who attempt to leave or interfere are usually contained. The word terrified me. Contained how? She didn't answer directly. You need to disappear. The drive home felt unreal. Every street looked unfamiliar, like I was already living someone else's life. That evening, Daniel called. "Change of plans," he said. "I'm coming home early." My heart slammed against my ribs. I forced my voice to stay calm. "Okay." When he walked through the door, he smiled, but his eyes searched my face more closely than usual. "You look tired," he said. "I didn't sleep well," I replied. He stepped closer, placing a hand on my stomach. For the first time, his touch felt calculated. "How's my baby?" he asked. My blood ran cold. Not our baby. My baby. In that moment, I understood something deeply. Daniel wasn't just hiding a past. He was waiting for the future growing inside me. And I knew then, staying meant losing myself. But leaving might cost me everything. I started watching my words after that. Every sentence. Every reaction. Every breath. Daniel became more attentive than usual. He asked how I was feeling. He cooked dinner. He rubbed my back at night. Anyone watching from the outside would have said he was finally becoming the perfect husband. But I knew better now. Attention can also be surveillance. I noticed how often he checked his phone when I entered the room. How he asked small questions that felt harmless but carried weight. "Did anyone call you today? Did the doctor schedule another appointment? Are you feeling stressed?" I answered carefully. Always normal. Always calm. Inside, I was unraveling. Dr. Collins contacted me again through the secure line. Her message was short. "He knows the pregnancy is progressing exactly as expected." That one sentence confirmed everything. Daniel wasn't waiting to find out what our baby would be. He already knew. I began quietly preparing to leave. I gathered important documents. I copied files. I packed small things into a bag I kept hidden at the back of the closet. I told myself I was being paranoid. But fear has a way of sharpening your instincts. One night, I woke up to Daniel standing beside the bed. He wasn't touching me. He wasn't speaking. He was just watching. I pretended to sleep, my heart racing. After a long moment, he leaned down and placed his hand on my stomach again, his palm resting there longer than usual. "Soon," he whispered. The next morning, I told him I wanted to visit my sister for a few days. He smiled. "Too easily." "That's a good idea," he said. "You've been tense." Relief washed over me, too fast. He helped me pack. He carried my bag to the car. He kissed me goodbye and told me to drive safely. The moment I pulled away, my hands started shaking. I didn't go to my sister's. I followed the instructions Dr. Collins had given me. A different city. A different name. A temporary place arranged by people I wasn't allowed to meet. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. That night, my phone rang. "Daniel." I didn't answer. A text followed. "I know you're not with your sister." My heart dropped. Another message came seconds later. "You don't have to run." Then one more. This was always bigger than us. I turned the phone off. The next morning, Dr. Harris called. "Emily," he said urgently. "Your husband reported you missing." My stomach twisted. "He told authorities you're unstable," Dr. Harris continued. "That the pregnancy is affecting your mental health." I felt sick. "He's setting the narrative," I whispered. "Yes," Dr. Harris said. "And he's doing it fast." Hours later, news alerts began appearing online. A local woman, pregnant, missing. Concern for her safety. Husband asking for privacy and prayers. Daniel's face was everywhere. Calm. Worried. Convincing. The world believed him. And that's when I understood the real danger. He didn't need to chase me. He could let the system bring me back to him. Because to everyone else, I was just a scared woman losing her mind. And he was the man trying to save his family. The world believed him. And that's when I understood the real danger. He didn't need to chase me. He could let the system bring me back to him. Because to everyone else, I was just a scared woman losing her mind. And he was the man trying to save his family. My world had become very small. One room. One bed. One bag. Everything I owned fit inside that bag. Documents, a few clothes, and the ultrasound image I still couldn't bring myself to delete. I kept my phone turned off most of the time. Every time the screen lit up, my heart jumped. Not because of Daniel, Because of the system. Dr. Collins had warned me that once someone controls the narrative, even the truth starts to look suspicious. And Daniel had already controlled the narrative. One afternoon, Dr. Harris called me. "Emily," he said carefully, "your medical records are now being requested through the court." I understood immediately. This wasn't just about finding me. This was about discrediting me. "He's trying to have you legally declared unstable," Dr. Harris continued. "If that happens, custody decisions automatically shift." My chest tightened. My baby, taken from me without my consent. For the first time, the thought crossed my mind that disappearing might not be enough. If I stopped existing, there would be no one left to resist. That night, I realized something important. Running was no longer the solution. The truth had to come out. Dr. Collins offered me one option. It wasn't safe. It wasn't comfortable. But it was possible. "The program your husband is connected to," she said, "still has records. Activity logs. Oversight trails. Can we access them?" I asked. She paused. "Not legally," she said. "But carefully." I placed my hand on my stomach. For the first time, I understood that this wasn't just about my survival anymore. It was about my child's future. That same evening, a message came in from a new number. "You're exhausted. You're overwhelmed. I just want to help you." Then another message appeared. A photo. My mother's house. That's when I understood this wasn't persuasion. It was a warning. That night I made my decision. If I stayed silent, someone else would write my story. And if I spoke, I might not survive. Once I made the decision, everything became very clear. Fear didn't disappear. But hesitation did. Dr. Collins and Dr. Harris worked quietly. No emails. No names. No official channels. They knew that the moment this went public, the wrong people would try to bury it. What they found was worse than I imagined. Daniel wasn't just connected to the program. He was born from it. His DNA had been altered before he was even born. Enhanced cognitive markers. Accelerated cellular repair. A controlled genetic profile designed to be passed on. He wasn't pretending to be someone else. He had been built to be someone else. The program had failed once. The first generation had side effects. Instability, lack of emotional bonding, identity fractures. That's why I mattered. I wasn't chosen randomly. I was selected because my genetics could stabilize the next generation. My pregnancy wasn't an accident. It was a continuation. When the evidence was finally compiled, it couldn't be hidden anymore. Too many signatures. Too many encrypted approvals. Too many people who had quietly left traces behind. A federal oversight committee stepped in. Not publicly. Not loudly. But decisively. Daniel didn't come looking for me again. Instead, he disappeared. His accounts were frozen. His identity was quietly dissolved. To the public, he became another man who vanished under investigation. No trial. No headlines. No explanations, just absence. I was allowed to start over. A new name. A protected location. Medical care under strict confidentiality. Months later, I gave birth. My child was healthy. Strong. Human. Not a weapon. Not an experiment. Just a life. The doctors told me something I will never forget. "Yes, your child carries rare genetic markers," they said. "But genetics are only potential. What matters is how a life is raised." That was the truth Daniel never understood. Control doesn't create destiny. Choice does. Today my life is quiet. No perfect photos. No quer felicidad happiness. Just real moments. Sometimes I think about the ultrasound. The moment everything broke open. If that doctor hadn't spoken up, if I hadn't listened, I wouldn't be here. And neither would my child. Some truths don't destroy you. They save you. Even when they cost you everything you thought you had.